that's fine. It'll do. Hare Krishna. Oops. Oh, okay. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. You're the up-and-coming mridanga player, are you? Anyway, okay. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Vishnavad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Status Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki Sri Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Mujhe pani chahiye. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Devotees, today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 6. Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva, and we're reading verse 48. Yeah, there are sheets there if anyone needs one. Right, verse 48. Yasmin Yada Pushkara Nabha Mayaya Durantaya Sprishta Diya Pritag Drisha Kurvanti Tatra Hi Anukampaya Kripam Na Sadhavo Daiva Balat Krite Kramam Yasmin Yada Pushkara Nabamayaya Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Kurvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Yasmin yada pushkara nabamaya ya. Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Korvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Yasmin yada pushkara nabamaya ya. Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Korvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Pushkara nabamaya. Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Korvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Yasmin yada pushkara nabamaya ya. Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Korvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Yasmin yada pushkara nabamaya ya. Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Korvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Yasmin yada pushkara nabamaya ya. Durantaya sprishta diapritagdrisha. Kurvanti tatra hyanukampaya kripam. Nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Yasmin in some place. Yada when. Pushkara nabamaya ya. By the illusory energy of Pushkara Naba, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Durantaya, insurmountable. Sprishtadiya, bewildered. Pritaktrisha, the same persons who see differently. Kurvanti, do. Tatra, there. He, certainly. Anukampaya, out of compassion. Kripam, mercy. Na, never. Sadhava, saintly persons. Daiva balat, by providence. Krite, being done. Kramam, prowess. Translation. My dear Lord, if in some places materialists who are already bewildered by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Godhead sometimes commit offenses, a saintly person with compassion does not take this seriously. Knowing that they commit offenses because they're overpowered by the illusory energy, he does not show his prowess to counteract them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is said that the beauty of a tapasvi, or saintly person, is forgiveness. There are many instances in the spiritual history of the world in which many saintly persons, although unnecessarily harassed, did not take action, although they could have done so. Parikshit Maharaj was unnecessarily cursed by a Brahmin boy, and this was very much regretted by the boy's father. But Parikshit Maharaj accepted the curse and agreed to die within a week, as the Brahmin boy desired. Parikshit Maharaj was the emperor and was full in power, both spiritually and materially. But out of compassion and out of respect for the Brahmin community, he did not counteract the action of the Brahmin boy, but agreed to die within 7 days. Because it was desired by Krishna that Parikshit Maharaj agree to the punishment, so that the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam would thus be revealed to the world, Parikshit Maharaj was advised not to take action. A Vaishnav is personally tolerant for the benefit of others. When he does show his prowess, this does not mean that when he does not show his prowess, this does not mean that he is lacking in strength. Rather, it indicates that he is tolerant for the welfare of the entire human society. Yasmin yada pushkara nabamayaya durantaya sprishta diya pritagdrisha kurvanti tatra hyanu kampaya kripam nasadavo daiva balatkrite kramam. Translation. My dear Lord, if in some places materialists who are already bewildered by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Godhead sometimes commit offenses, a saintly person with compassion does not take this seriously. Knowing that they commit offenses because they're overpowered by the illusory energy, he does not show his prowess to counteract them. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, devotees, yesterday Jai Sachinandan Prabhu spoke on the verse before this, and it's very much a related theme. Yes. Related. This today is definitely a variation, but it's related, and of course it is referring to Daksha and Daksha's nonsense. What nonsense Daksha did? It's just terrible. Becoming angry with a person who did not deserve anger. The person had not done anything requiring some sort of heavy correction or punishment or something of that sort. But Daksha, because as stated here by Lord Brahma, because Daksha was, and unfortunately on different occasions is, overpowered by the illusory energy, just overpowered. And when someone becomes overpowered by someone else or something, then, well, they can't resist. I mean, they can't stop, at least. They can try to resist. But if they really don't have the power, then even if they try to resist, they're just overpowered. Yes. So, yeah. You know, sometimes it happens that some person is attacked by a group of people, and it's extremely difficult for him to do anything to protect himself, and as a result he may really become abused. And it's just because he was overpowered. And of course, in another sense, or just on top of that, why is he overpowered? How has that situation arisen? It's because of his karma. And Daksha, Daksha is a controversial person, actually. At least on a few occasions. He's not as bad as some. Well, he's pretty bad. When he's bad, he really is bad. But you get the demons and people like this, the Rakshasas, who are just living a life of abusiveness and harming and treating extremely unfairly and robbing and killing just whimsically, all this type of thing. Yes. So they're incurring karma. And in the future, whatever they're giving out to people in terms of abuse, they will get. they will get in due course. No less. Actually, generally the standard is they will simply get exactly what they gave out. And therefore they say, at least in the Bible, they say, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Not 2 eyes for 1 eye and 1 tooth for 3 teeth, or something like that. It's balanced, it's fair. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And the systems of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in terms of karma, they are extremely precise. They're extremely precise. So people get just exactly what they deserve and not a little more or a little less. Just like how it works in a properly managed bank, that particularly if it's a company who's depositing money every day, withdrawing money every day, and there's a lot that the account is very active. So every day they're putting in more money, and every day they're taking out, and maybe they're paying 10 people in one day or something like this. So in other words, there are many, many transactions. There may be, in the course of the year, there may be thousands of transactions. And when there is a positive balance in the account, then some percentage of interest comes. And if the account ever becomes a little overdrawn, then some interest is taken from the account. So I think you follow the idea. It can get extremely complex, really extremely complex. But at the end of the year, it can be calculated to the cent how much money, what balance should be in the account. To the very cent, it can be calculated. This is precision. And if conditioned souls, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, if conditioned souls are able, at least under certain circumstances, to be so precise and accurate, what about the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So therefore, every single action is evaluated, and whatever is the appropriate reaction is noted down, and in due course will be given precisely. This is how it works. So if someone like Daksha, he's very offensive and abusive, and it's just terrible, actually. Just amazingly terrible. So it's sinful activity, and it'll all be calculated. Of course, in the meantime, I think he already got the head of the goat. Or anyway, if not, it's coming. But I think he's got the head of the goat already. So that's a reaction for being really offensive. When you're really offensive, you get something really offensive done to you. And if you get the head of a goat, that's pretty offensive. And it means you were pretty offensive to someone else. Maybe every day you told the person, you're a silly goat. every day, again and again and again for years. So, in the end, you may get the head of a goat. Yes, so these things happen, and with Daksha, of course, Lord Shiva, he doesn't deserve to be abused like that. And to lose his wife, his very dear and very dedicated wife, who was assisting him in so many ways. So sometimes things happen like to devotees, not to non-devotees, but to devotees. Sometimes special things happen which are not according to that devotee's karma, but are just according to how the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants to deal with the devotee for the devotee's improvement in Krishna consciousness. Yes. And I've just been reading this. I'm preparing for Bhakti Vaibhava generally every day pretty much. And now I'm just starting the 15th chapter. Anyway, we just read in the 6th chapter. We just finished the 6th chapter last night. And Srila Prabhupada, there were two purports. First Canto, 6th chapter, verse 9 and verse 10. And in the purports, Srila Prabhupada explained how a devotee, like in this case it was Narada Muni in his previous life, still as a child, the son of a maidservant, even though his mother died, just like that, the bite of a snake, very horrible. And yeah, it's really not a nice way to die. I don't think there is a nice way, really, but that's definitely not nice. It takes time. It's very painful. But anyway, 5-year-old Narada in his previous life immediately took it that this is the Lord's arrangement for my spiritual development, and he left home. And Prabhupada explained that in that purport of verse 9, and then again in the purport of verse 10. So oftentimes, the Lord, even though it is not a devotee's karma that such and such things should happen, but sometimes it does by Krishna's arrangement, because Krishna's independent. In terms of his dealings, his interacting and putting people in different situations. At least with his devotees, he acts independently sometimes. Maybe not every time, but whenever he likes, he acts independently and just gives them whatever he feels will help them progress and develop in the best way under the circumstances. But for the non-devotees, they just get their karma. He's the Upadrashta and Anumanta. Bhagavad Gita 13:23. Upa meaning above, drashta meaning looking, seeing, the overlooker, and Anumanta, the permitter. Anumanta. Anu, of course, means there's a sequence involved. So Anumanta means permitting what in terms of the person's activities, in that sequence, what would be the next thing in sequence, the reaction. Anyway, but here, of course, the particular point is the forgiveness of the devotees. And sometimes or oftentimes even the devotees are offended, but they don't react. What have I done? Anyway, there's a verse that Jai Sachinandan Prabhu referred to yesterday. Tikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatrava Shanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. And I'm just trying to find it, and here it is. 3rd canto, chapter 25, verse 21. Tatikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatrava Shanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Yes, well, this is very much in order in this particular case here, at least what's being discussed here in this particular verse and purport. And as Prabhupada mentions, there are many cases when devotees, they display these symptoms, very tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities. One particular example is the example of Maharaj Yudhisthira. He was known as, in fact, the word is used in this other verse I've just read from the 3rd canto, Ajata Shatrava. He was known as Ajata Shatru. Here it said Ajata Shatrava, which is the same word but just a different grammatical arrangement. Ajata means never born, unborn. Unborn. Never born. Shatru, enemy. An enemy. I mean, in a very literal sense, it means someone who does you harm, or at least who's inimical or even causes you pain. So for Maharaj Yudhisthira, his enemy was never born. But, as we know very well, he had so many enemies. He had just so many. And in the end, they all got together. Some of them were enemies directly. They just had a particular thing about him personally. And some were enemies indirectly, in the sense, I mean, it's also direct too, but in the sense that when they were asked to fight against him, even though they had no personal quarrel with him, but they were willing to fight against him and try to kill him. That means they, despite, their lack of inimical feelings generally, but they were quite willing to take the role of an enemy and act as an enemy, and if they'd had a chance, they would have actually killed him. So, but still, despite that, Maharaj Yudhisthira was known as Ajatashatru, he whose enemy was never born, because he never considered any of those people his enemies. He had no bad feelings towards them at all. Not even slightly. And the great example, well, one great example was when the Pandavas were in exile, then Duryodhana arranged a few things actually, but one thing he arranged was that Devasamuni and his, I think, 60,000 disciples, anyway, some huge number of disciples, just arrived at the place under the tree under which the Pandavas were living and requested lunch. And it was already sort of mid-morning or something like that. We want lunch, 60,000, lunch for 60,000. Don't worry, we'll give you a couple of hours to prepare it. Just, we'll take bath, we'll come back, and then you can feed us. So what is that? That's just such rubbish treatment, actually. That's terrible. And it was done on the instigation of Duryodhana. He told Devasamuni, you go there and you do that. And Devasamuni did. So, of course, Lord Krishna manifested lots and lots of nice prasadam. Well, no, he did. In the sense that Draupadi had a pot which would never be empty. As long as you didn't let it become empty, it would never be empty. If it became empty, then you'd have to fill it up again. So, anyway, that was there. So it was going to be possible. But also Krishna arranged that Devasamuni and his 60,000 disciples, while they're taking bath, suddenly they felt like they just had some sort of grand feast and they just couldn't possibly eat any more. And they were feeling very embarrassed. We've made this very extraordinary demand, but we're not going to be able to honor our part of it. So they just left without even saying thank you or sorry or, we can't make it or whatever. They just left. So the Pandavas were aware that Duryodhana was behind that. And what to speak of the fact that Duryodhana had abused them in so many ways, made different arrangements for them to be killed. The house of lac, for example, just as one example, the poisoned cake, and all these types of things. And then the abuse of Draupadi, well, that was Dushasana. But anyway, he'd been very abusive. So, Bhima particularly, of the Pandavas there in exile, Bhima became very angry with Duryodhana because of this attempt to place them in difficulty with Devasa, which would have generally ended up with Devasa cursing them. So Bhima was really upset. But Maharaj Yudhisthira, he was just like, don't worry about it, doesn't matter. And then after a little while, one Gandharva warrior, and Gandharvas are demigods, so that they're not like the big demigods who control the universe. they're like secondary demigods who are just have particular artistic abilities, but still they're demigods, and they are powerful compared to your typical human being. So somehow or other, Duryodhana one day was confronted by a Gandharva who wanted to fight with him, who challenged him to fight to the death. And Duryodhana could not refuse, and that Gandharva, being very powerful, was just in the process of defeating him and was just about ready to kill him. And Duryodhana couldn't do anything. That was going to be the end of Duryodhana. But then Yudhisthira appeared on the scene, and the Gandharva was defeated, and Duryodhana was defended. But when Yudhisthira, as that situation was developing, when Yudhisthira said to Bhima, "Let's go and help Duryodhana, defend him, save his life," Bhima was just, "No, let him be killed. That's fine. That's just excellent." He was really happy. But Yudhisthira was, "No, he's our cousin." So even though he was such an inimical person, this word enemy and the word inimical, they're connected. They're connected. Yeah. So he was a first-class enemy of the Pandavas, and particularly of Yudhisthira, who was the leader of the Pandavas. But Maharaj Yudhisthira, not only did he feel like we don't need to pay him back or, take action against Duryodhana personally, he actually felt compassionate towards him. That's what, this verse 48 is saying, that even though some of these people are bewildered by the illusory energy like Duryodhana, commit offenses, the saintly person with compassion does not take it seriously. And of course in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Maharaj Parikshit being cursed by Shringi, the immature and unqualified Brahmin boy. So, as Prabhupada mentions here, that the father regretted it very much and actually offered to remove the curse. And he could have removed the curse. But as Prabhupada explains here, Maharaj Parikshit agreed to accept it. Even though he was full in power, materially, of course, he was a powerful warrior, but he was also spiritually quite powerful enough to eliminate a curse. Yeah, but he didn't do it at all. He took it just like Narada Muni with his mother being bitten by the snake and dying, taking it that it's the Lord's mercy. Let me embrace it and just take my life forward in Krishna consciousness on the basis of this, what would normally be thought to be some extremely unfortunate happening in his life. So Maharaj Parikshit also, out of respect for the Brahmins, and because he took it that it was the will of the Lord, and he didn't want to go against the will of the Lord, plus he was also very humble, and he also felt, I deserve it. I'm an offender. I've offended in so many ways. Maharaj Parikshit, as a humble devotee, felt like that. So for these different reasons, he agreed to die within 7 days, and then facilitated by the Lord's arrangement, the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam by the perfect person, Shukadev Goswami. The perfect sort of version, you could say, of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, yes, I mean, there are other cases, Haridas Thakur beaten in all those marketplaces, and then the soldiers who had been beating him, they told him, we are going to be killed because we failed to kill you. And, we are exhausted. We just cannot do any more. And Haridas Thakur said, oh, really? You're going to be killed because of me? Because you couldn't kill me? Oh, no. We can't have that. And he voluntarily died to save their lives out of compassion, even though they were certainly servants of a demon, and they were basically on the demoniac side themselves. Yes, so this is the nature of the advanced devotees. Not everyone can do that. Not every devotee can do this in a natural way, as just spontaneously as how they actually feel that, oh, this is what I must do. Not every devotee, but as devotees progress in Krishna consciousness, then their character becomes more purified, and they then manifest more and more those just really wonderful qualities, like the verse says. What was it? 3:25-21, was it? Or was it not? Oh, it was. 3:25-21. Titikshava karunika surida sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhava sadhu bhushana. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant. That's the first one mentioned. He's tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He's peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Devotees, any comments or questions? Oh yes. Loud and clear.
Hare Krishna. Towards the beginning of the class, you were mentioning that Krishna sometimes makes special arrangements in his devotees' lives, which are outside karma. I guess it's fairly rare, but my question is how to recognize Krishna's special arrangements in devotees' lives, because sometimes devotees say that Krishna made arrangements in their lives where there's some minor coincidences or synchronicities happening, things work out nicely and fall into a place. They say it's Krishna's arrangement. As opposite, there's something spectacular and big, like Caitanya Swami missing his, I think because of traffic, got late to airport where the bomb went off. So that's more sort of obvious.
More obvious. Well, the thing is that for the devotees, as long as they're sincerely, as much as they're able to be sincere, following Krishna consciousness, then whatever happens in their life happens by the will of the Lord, at the very least with the agreement of the Lord, but actually by the will of the Lord. Because when a devotee surrenders and becomes a person surrenders and becomes a devotee, then Krishna takes their karma, and now they become karma free, and the karma is now Krishna's property. So oftentimes, really oftentimes, Krishna is allowing or making things happen within the devotee's life, which actually, they have their roots in the devotee's karma, which Krishna has taken, and therefore, in some cases, they're recognizable as being relevant to me as a person, how I was living and something like that. But generally speaking, whatever happens in the life of the devotee is Krishna's mercy, Krishna's arrangement, although however much of it may be that he's giving you your karma, but he's giving it in sort of specialized ways, situation-specific or situation-specific, but really according to his feelings, which, are correct. What's going to be best for your progress? So therefore, even the very small things can be taken as Krishna's mercy. And what to speak of the big things? Yeah. Like you said, they're obviously Krishna's mercy, but small things are too. How's that?
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Bhakti Justin.
Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev. I just wanted to ask, how do we more spontaneously or more naturally embrace these events that Krishna sends, or the different situations that Krishna sends to, test us and to make us better?
How
do we more naturally
accept them
and embrace?
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, how do we more naturally accept them? We've got to cultivate the habit of when things happen, whatever they are. I mean, like Mataji said, it's particularly recognizable when something, special happens, like in the case with Narada, his mother passes away, or if someone gives you a million rands or something like that. But, the fact is that all these happenings, nothing is happening just in a coincidental way in the life of a devotee. Nothing. So we have to cultivate that tendency that in whatever situation to feel, Krishna's mercy in this way and that. And that's what is spiritually natural, actually. If someone says, to take something naturally means that it's not a big deal, that, it's Krishna's mercy, okay, that's all right. That means we're becoming familiar with Krishna and his mercy. So, one of the important things when we're cultivating Krishna consciousness is to, there are different things we need to cultivate in terms of attitudes and approaches to doing things. So another one is is gratitude. Gratitude. In material life, gratitude, they're not strong on gratitude usually. Yeah. And some people are just really ungrateful people. You get people who are grateful types of people, but because people in material life are thinking, I'm the enjoyer. They're thinking, I should enjoy. So they've got this sense of entitlement. And when you've got a sense of entitlement, it's directly opposed to a mood of gratitude. Yeah. So we have to cultivate a mood of gratitude. Like a mood of, like a willingness and a desire and happiness to take whatever happens in our lives as Krishna's mercy, but then to also be grateful for it because it's Krishna's plan to help us, not just right now necessarily, but also in the longer term. So gratitude and appreciation, these two things, they're very important qualities for devotees to develop in general, with Krishna and with the devotees. Yeah. And that's what's natural. I mean, in the sense of when a person is in their natural state as a pure devotee of the Lord, that's just how they feel, naturally. They don't have to think about it. It just comes straight out of them. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.